Live. Are we live? Let's see. Mic check, mic check. Yes, we are. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. All right, all right, all right. All right. We should be live. Let me double check over here. Let me double check. YouTube. All right, all right, all right. We got live on the YouTube. Audio works. All right. Beautiful. Okay, okay, okay. All right. All right. Give me 1 second. 1 second. All right. All right, all right, all right. Brittany says, morning, coach. Early bird gets the worm. Good morning, Brittany. Good morning, good morning. All right. Let's make sure we're all set up over here. All right. There we go. All right. There we go. Get everything all set up here. All right. Beautiful. Everything's looking good. Everything's looking copacetic. Boom. All right. Good, good. All right. Everything's all set over here. All set. There we go. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get a share party going on. Let's get a share party while I get everything all set up. Let's get a share party going on over here. Come on now. All right. Here we go. Pop right there. All right. Boom, right there. All right. And boom, right there. All right, all right. All right. Let's get this up over here. All right. There we go. Get ourselves all set over here. All right. Get ourselves set there. Boom. All right. So set there. So set here. There we go. Keegan says, hello, boss. How you doing, Keegan? How you doing?
Hello, Keegan.
Hello, hello. All right. Let me just get everything shared on the other social media platforms, and we'll get started. All right. There we go. And let's get a share party going, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a share party going. Share party, share party, share party. Come on now. All right. Get this set up over here. All right. Send this here. All right. And we're ready to go. All right. What's up, guys? It's Double Nicks, and welcome to another episode of Microcap Mornings. I am your host with the most. They call me DBL Nicks in the house, aka the Rainmaker. And I'm here with the lovely Serengeti specialist herself. She likes to hang around the tall weeds, the high trees, the low seas, hitting them high knees. Sometimes she likes 2 cups of coffee. Other times she likes to jet ski. Other times she likes to regular ski. Other times she gets shot at the cannon and she goes, wee! Other times she likes to go to RBs and watch videos of puppies and kitties. Other times she likes to go into the stock market. Other times she likes to steal my lo mein. Other times she likes to go to Wendy's. Sometimes she likes to go to Burger King, maybe even Mickey D's. And other times she likes to go and find some stocks in the stock market. She finds some stocks that do the ABCDs, right? And to top it off, she called quite a few stocks like PASW, INBS, BDSX, and EVTV. We call her DBM Moms. All right, so that's what we got going on, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we got going on. All right. So, let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get started. All right. So, first things first, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, 1 second. A little tangled here. There we go. All right. Let's take a look at some stocks here. So, first stock that we got going on right here, ladies and gentlemen, is we called... Oh, and by the way, before we begin, actually, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos are uploaded. And remember to share, because sharing is caring, ladies and gentlemen. Sharing is caring. And, of course, if you want access to our private Discord, link to join is in the description down below. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different, and the early bird gets the cash, the moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we called this morning a couple of stocks. We called PASW, which ran up a nice 69%. 69% right there. All right, called that one. We called INBS, which ran up a nice 111%. Called it on the private Discord prior to the run right here. Called it on the private Discord prior to its run. There we go, right there. All right. There we go. There we go. INBS, 111%. All right. We also called BDSX, which ran up a nice 43%. All right. We called EVTV. Oh my. EVTV seems to be running, actually. EVTV. There we go. Moving up 128%. 130% actually. Hit 130%. There we go. EVTV ran up a nice 130%. Called this one on the private Discord as well. Prior to its run. All right. All right. All right. There we go. Right there. Beautiful. All right. EVTV moving its way on up right now. Hit a high of 130%. 130%. All right. We'll go over this one first, obviously. And then after that, Keegan, we will look into EQ for you. All right. All right, all right, all right. So that's what we got going on, folks. That is what we got going on right there. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, remember to check out that 4-day trial for $9.99. Link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We're just made different, and the early bird gets the cash. The moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. All right, so as of now, EVTV is moving its way on upward right here, climbing up, hit a nice high of 130%, and is still climbing, still moving, still grooving. A little bit overbought on the R side, but that's okay. It is what it is. Let's take a look at the float. Float is 4.5 million right there. Volume is 7.1. Actually, no, excuse me. 128.5 million right there. So the float is 4.5 million. Volume is 128.6 million actually now. So as of now, it's currently climbing with the volume. The volume is currently climbing. It's now up 135%. 135%. Where's my pen? Where's my pen? Where'd my pen go? Why you steal my pen? Stealing! She's stealing my pen. DBL Mom's the pen thief. The pen thief. She strikes again. All right. No, you stole my pen. Stealing. Look, look, look. It's unbecoming of you. Shh. Look, look, look. I don't eat pens. You steal pens. There's a difference. You steal the lo mein, you steal the pens. You stole the lo mein and the pens. Anyway. Look, 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 look. She started off with like 5, 6 pens. Now she has no pens. And then she steals mine. Stealing! Anyways, so, as I was saying. Alright, so we got resistance here at the $1.09 mark right there. $1.09 mark right there. Currently up above the VWAPA. Currently up above the VWAPA. And it does have a resistance point right over here. So as of now, EVTV shot up to 135%. Needs to break above the resistance line. Would be so much maxi to me. Resistance line is currently at $1.09. Has to break above that resistance line and remain friends with the trend for it to be so much mexi to me. That's what it needs to do. DVL Moms, keep an eye on EVTV for me. All right. Now we're going to check into EQ. EQ as requested from Keegan. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Keegan. All right, here we go. So EQ looks like it's very low on volume right now. So as of now, this stonk has a bit of low volume going on right here. Let me put this over here. Bop, right there. $1.35 is a resistance line for the stock right here. This is Equilium Inc. up 15% currently as of now. But let's take a look at the float. Float is 47.7 million, which is a little bit heavy. Volume is 141,000. So as of now, the volume is extremely low for this stock. Let's take a look at the news. Does it have any news today? It has news that came out on Friday that they had changes to their beneficial ownership. And they filed a Form 4, but other than that, there doesn't look like there's really any true news that's of interest here. So Equilium doesn't really have much news that's of interest. Very heavy float, low volume, very, very choppy on the chart. Very, very choppy. A lot of indecisive wicks here, here, and here. All right. The RSI was a bit overbought. Was a bit overbought in the RSI, and then kind of started moving down. Bounced back up, started leaning more towards being overbought again, and then kind of peaked downward a little bit before trying to climb back up. So as of now, Equilium, not the best stock in my opinion, but that's just my opinion right there. EQ needs more volume. That's what it really needs. EQ needs a lot of volume because it's a very heavy floated stock. So EQ needs volume to break the not the consolidation. Yeah, actually consolidation, yes. Consolidation and resistance. All right. There we go. There we go. All right. PC says I'm a dude. I use my girlfriend's account. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let's see here. 1 second. All right. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Okay. Yes. So as of now, EQ is not looking too schmexy right now. Not looking too schmexy. So we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So let's take a look over here. What else do we got going? How's EQ doing?
EQ is just hanging out at the moment.
All right. Not EQ, EVTV. I mean,
EVTV. I'm sorry.
EVTV. EVTV is up 128% as of now. Still needs to remain friends with the trend. We'll take a look. We'll keep an eye on it. EVTV did have a nice move, up 135%. Now it's 128 currently. I guess it's kind of pulling back down a little bit to compensate for the RSI. So we'll see what happens there, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see what happens there. EVTV needs to remain friends with the trend. There we go. All right, there we go. So let's take a look and see what else we can find here. What else we got? What else we got? Let's see over here. PASW. PASW. How's PASW doing? PASW currently below the VWAP. Currently below the VWAP. Needs to break above that VWAP as well. Up 46%, has unconfirmed Q3 earnings due in 11 days from now on January 23rd after the market close. So we'll see what happens there. Yeesh. All right. So the float for this stock is approximately 7 million. 7 million approximately. Volume is approximately 59 million. So as of now, the volume is exceedingly higher than the float. It is up 48%, has unconfirmed Q3 earnings. Does it have any other news? Let's see. As of now, PASW doesn't really have any interesting news. It did have something come out on January 9th of 2026. On Friday, it had news that Ping An Biomedical announced an investment in Future Biotechnology Group. So they have that for news, but again, that was on the 9th. It was it was a while ago. And as we all know, Stonks really normally move on fresh news, not things that are like 3 days old or a couple days old. You know what I mean? So as of now, PASW currently is moving downward over here on, all right, just below the VWAP, and is leaning towards being oversold, a little bit oversold. So as of now, that's what we got going on for PASW. Needs to break the downtrend and needs to break the VWAP. It looks like it's trying to peak above the downtrend right now. It does have volume, but it needs more volume for it to really break that downtrend over there. So PASW trying to peak above the downtrend and the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. There we go. There we go. All right. BCS for OMH. OMH. All right, bet. OMH. Let's take a look. All right. OMH. Up 8%. Very choppy as of now. Lot of indecisive wicks over here. Not looking too schmexy right now. Let me take a look at the overview. Let's see here. Float for the stock is 22.3 million. A little bit heavy, but nothing crazy. All right. Volume is 22.2 thousand. So the float is exceedingly heavier than the volume. All right. And yeah, it's got a ways to go, really. I mean, because the float is very much so high. Volume is 22,000, which is very, very low. All right. So does it have any news? Let's see if it has any news. Let's see if it has any news. Let's see. On My Home overhauls top leadership with new co-CEO and audit chair on January 9th, 2026. So they're overhauling their leadership. Let's see. They adopted a third amended and restated charter. All right. Form 6. Okay, cool. I mean, these aren't really like big bits of news here. There's nothing too interesting here on this one. Up 8%. Again, very, very choppy. Needs volume for it to really start moving and grooving. And very heavy flow. So OMH needs volume to break the choppiness and stay above the VWAPA. All right, there we go. All right. BC says, I'm still learning. Yeah, no problem, man. Of course, of course. OM. All right, BC asked for OM. Let's take a look at OM. OM is currently had a nice shot upward, had a nice price spike, pulled back a little bit, had another price spike, and looks like it's curling its way back up. This one looks like it's curling its way back up over here. So as of now, it did have a nice movement up here. All right. Oh, excuse me. Let me get this spot right there. There we go. All right. And then looks like it had a bit of a, hold on. Has to break this it really has to break this pennant. It has to break above this pennant and stay above the VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. So as of now, this stock is currently up 23%. 23%. Does it have any news? Actually, let me put this up first. OM needs to break the pennant. Is it moving up on low volume? Let me take a look. The float is 17.9 million. I call it 18 million right there. Approximately volume is 2.3 million. All right. So we got that going on right there. So the float is heavier than the volume. So it is moving up on low volume. Price spike on low volume. Had a price spike on low volume there. Price spike on low volume right there. So we need to see that right there. Does it have any good news? Does it have any good news? Let's see. All right. Has some news that came out today that Outset Medical reports unaudited fourth quarter and 2025 results. All right. They also filed the Form 8 and we saw a Q4 2025 revenue estimate. So they got that going on right there. That is what they got going on right there. So OM doesn't really have much in terms of news. They have a 2025 revenue estimate that came out. But other than that, nothing really to write home about as far as news goes. So right now it had a price spike on some low volume. Needs to break that pennant for it to be so much mexy to me out. Let's take a look at OSRH. OSRH, which was also requested by BC here. Hold on 1 second. Very low volume over here. Let's see if it changed because it did have a massive price spike. It did have a price spike. All right. As of now, shot up, boom, and then fell below the VWAP right over there. Fell below the VWAP. Up 16%. Let's take a look, see what they got. Float is 12.6 million. Volume is 23.2 million. So the volume is a lot higher than the float. I like that. That's good. All right, let's take a look at the news. Does it have any news? All right, OSRH. OSRH has news that came out today. Vaxim, an OSR company, received a binding term sheet from BCM Europe for global exclusive license of VXM01 with $30 million up front and up to $815 million in milestones. All right. They also received a binding term sheet from BCM Europe for exclusive global license of VXM01. So they basically got like a term sheet that basically gave them the license for, I'm guessing this is some sort of, I don't know if it's a drug or if it's something else really. But from what it says here, they got the exclusive license for it, which is good news. It's good news. So can the stock curl? Well, it's gonna need some more volume than what it's got already. But OSRH can potentially curl up and break above the VWAPA. OSRH needs more volume to break the pennant and the VWAPA. All right, needs more volume to do it. Needs more volume, but it did have a nice movement. It has the float, it has the price, it has the volume for it, but it just needs to curl up. You know what I mean? It needs to curl up, and a little more volume couldn't hurt. You know what I mean? So that's what we got going on right there. All right. Did you catch NBY by the end of the day Friday? Let's see. Did we? Let's see. NBY. We didn't really look into NBY. Let me take a look. NBY, let's see. NBY, I mean, now it's currently down 11%, but on Friday, let's see. Well, I see why we didn't catch it. Normally, I see why we didn't look at it. All right, the float here for this stock is 124.8 million. So as of now, the float is extremely heavy, volume's extremely low, but beyond that, the float's extremely heavy. We normally don't look at stocks with that kind of heavy float. We don't really look at those types of stocks most of the time. So it's very rare we'll look at stocks with heavy floats, like 124 million. That's a heavy float to us, so we don't normally look at those. But let me take a look at it real quick. So it has a heavy float, light volume, very, very choppy price action going on over here. All right. So it's got that going on right there. Needs to break above the pennant right there, as well as the VWAP. It needs volume. So NBY as of now needs volume, but NBY before. But hey, look, if you call it 20% of it and you made a profit, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's excellent. Needs to break the pennant and the VWAPA. Yeah, we normally don't look at stocks with very, very high volume like that. Like there are times where it'll happen, or excuse me, high float. We don't look at it's rare, but we'll take a look at certain ones sometimes, but it's very rare that we look at stocks with like hundreds of millions in terms of float. So that's what we got. Hundreds of millions of shares. So yeah, let me take a look at INBS. INBS, let's see what's going on here with INBS. Up 33%. 33%. Had a major price spike and then fell back below the VWAP. Let's see what we got going on over here. Oh, excuse me.
Let's like up the stream.
Yeah, let's get a share party going. Let's give it likes, shares. Let's get a share party going right here. Let's get a share party going. INBS. Knee up 33%. Needs to break the pennant and the VWAPA. Needs to break those two things for it to be so much Mexi Tumya. PASW. All right. Broke the downtrend, but still needs to break the VWAP. It is consolidated below the VWAP as of now. PASW consolidated below VWAP. There we go. PASW consolidated below the VWAP. All right. BDSX. Called this one earlier. Ran up 43%. Now up 25. All right. Let's take a look over here. All right. All right. Has a pennant over here. Fell below the VWAP. BDSX needs to break the VWAP and needs to break above the pennant right here. So needs to break those two things right there. So BDSX needs to break the VWAP and the pennant. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. ABVX. All right. Let's see. ABVX has a bit of a downtrend over here. A little bit of a downtrend right here. Needs to break above the downtrend and break above the VWAPA for it to be so much Mexi Tumya. ABVX needs to break the downtrend and the VWAPA. There we go. All right. How's EVTV doing? EVTV looks like it's trying to curl its way on up. Yes, it does. Up 141%. Moving. There we go. EVTV curling its way back up. Broke the high of day once again. EVTV broke the high of day once again. Up 143%. 143%. And then hit a slight resistance line right over here. All right, up 141% now. Has a resistance line here at the $1.13 mark. Let's see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Has to break above that resistance line. EVTV, 143%. So let's take a look at that. Bop right there. 1, 4, 3. All right, there we go. 143%. There we are. All right, let's take a look over here. INBS. While EVTV is doing its thing, INBS still needs to break that pennant right there. It is also a little bit expensive in terms of stocks. It is $23 and change, which is a little pricey for stocks, but not crazy, but it's pricey. Because if you're buying multiple shares, it's pricey. So INBS needs to break the pennant still. All right, there we go. All right, let's see how we do here. PASW still broke above this downtrend over here, but still needs to break. It is consolidated below the VWAP though. So PASW needs volume to break the consolidation below the VWAPA. All right, there we go. BDSX. All right. BDSX needs to break above. It looks like it's trying to curl above this pennant, but as of now, As of now, it peaked above the pennant, but it's consolidated still. So BDSX peaked above the pennant, but is consolidated. Matter of fact, I even go so far as to say, yeah, it's testing the pennant right here. But needs to still really fully break it. It is consolidated, so it did break it a little bit, but also needs to break that volume as well. So that VWAP right there. So yeah, needs to do that real quick. EVTV. Let's see how EVTV is doing. Hit 144%. 144%. That is a new high. It is a new high, but still kind of has that resistance. 144%. Let's give it some support and resistance lines right over here. Let's see here. Bop right there. Bop right there. All right. That's what we got going on. EVTV currently on the uptrend. Needs to break that resistance line. But it did break through. EVTV broke the high of day. Up 144%. Needs to break the resistance line. There we go. There we go. Let's get a share party going, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 600. 600, 600, 600. Come on now. All right. Let's take a look over here. Let's take a look over here. All right. All right. Let's see here. How about JAGX? JAGX, JAGX. Let's take a look over here. All right, JAGX. All right. Let's see here. JAGX has a bit of a resistance right over here. Let me see here. Looks like it could potentially be forming a head and shoulders, but it did just gap up over here and is now shooting up like a rocket with a price spike here. It shot all the way up to 36%. 36%. There we go. Up there. Boom. Oh my. Looks like it is moving. JAGX. JAGX shot up like a rocket. Up 36%. All right. So they got that going on right there. Oh my.
EVTV moving.
All right. Let's see about EVTV. EVTV 154%. Broke the high a day once again. There we go. Broke that resistance. Broke the high a day. Up 157% and climbing. 158. 158 EVTV. 159. There we go. 161. All right. There we go.
Let's go, baby.
There we are.
124, baby.
163.
Let's go.
There we go. There we go. 163. 163% right there. EVTV. EVTV up 163%. 163%. Oh, wait, it's even higher now. 165.
Let's go.
There we go. 165. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of my knee. Whoop, whoop. There we go. Shot. Broke the high of day once again. There we go. EVTV up 165%. Broke the high of day once again. All right. There we go. There we go. EVTV broke the high of day once again, up 165%. 165. All right. All right, all right, all right. So, there we go. There we go. BC requested DFH. Let's take a look at DFH. DFH. Ooh. Yeah, no. DFH moved down. It's currently down 0.2%, but this is a major price spike downwards. So as of now, DFH needs a lot of volume. Very indecisive wicks. You can tell right off the bat, DFH needs a lot of volume for it to be so much Mexi to Mia. There we go. There we go. Very low float. I can tell. Well, very heavy. Float is 13.925 million. Volume is 123. So very, very low volume, heavy float. Not looking too schmexy as of now. Does it have any news? No, nothing worth noting. The last bit of news about it came out on January 7th, so we got that going on. But other than that, meh. And the last bit of news, wasn't really anything to write home about. So as of now, it did have a nice move upward. It is above the VWAP right here. It did have a nice move upward, but then dropped back down all the way below the VWAP, and then kind of sort of curled its way back up. But it is very, very choppy as of now. Very, very choppy. So as of now, it's a very choppy stock. I personally wouldn't trust it. I mean, that was a very steep decline right there. So that's what we got going on right there. Let's take a look at some other stocks here. How about DAWN? DAWN, how's DAWN looking? All right, DAWN had a bit of a dip below the VWAPA. And then curled its way on up right there. BC says he bought 100 shares of EVTV at 61 cents. Good. I hope it makes you money. I hope it makes money for you. All right, DAWN.
Great price.
BC says gotta wait for market open to sell. Well, we'll see.
Making some money, baby. Making some money.
Yes. EVTV currently up $1.18. So yeah, you're making some money right now. Good. It's making a nice profit. You made a nice profit already, right off the bat.
Let's go.
He says he's gonna wait for the market open to sell. All right. Good. Make your money, man. Make your money. Yes, sir. There we go, man. That's it right there. DAWN, I think this stock might be low float. Let's take a look. Actually, low volume, I mean. Float is 69 million and change. Volume for DAWN is 524,000. So, DAWN curled above the VWAP, but is on low volume. So, DAWN curled above VWAPA on low volume. There we go right there. All right. So did that right there. Let's take a look. See how OM is looking. OM broke above the pennant. Very nice. There we go. OM broke the pennant up 38%. OM broke above the pennant up 39%. There we go. Right there. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a share party going. Let's get to 900. 900. Yes, sir. All right. $60 turned into 118. There you go, man. There you go. That's it. Beautiful. Yeah, make your money. There we go.
More money.
There we go, BC. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear right there. All right. OM currently curled up and is still shooting up right now on that price spike right there. Let's take a look at the all-time requested stock over here. ASST still very low on volume with the stock and needs to break the downtrend right over MIA. All right, ASST needs to break the downtrend, and VWAP needs volume to do both of those things. So ASST needs volume to break the downtrend and the VWAPA. All right, another crowd favorite was BYND. BYND, which is currently moving its way on down, needs to break this descending wedge and stay above the VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to me, but it looks like it is very much so low volume. So BYND down. All right, down right there. BC says small wins turn into big ones. There we go. That's what I like to hear.
Compound.
BYND.
Compound returns, baby.
Compound returns. That's what I like to hear. All right, BYND needs to break the descending wedge with volume right there. Bop right there. Okay. All right. OM is moving outset. OM. Let's take a look. OM, yep, currently curling up still.
Nice.
49% and climbing. There we go. OM is currently climbing its way on up still. 48%. 48% right there. OM up 48%. Still moving up off the pennant for it to be schmexy. Yeah, schmexiness. There we go. All right. And with these types of price spikes, let's get some support and resistance lines right over MIA. Boom, right there. So as of now, has to hold above 632, has to break 688 for it to continue to be schmexy to MIA. All right, probably going to pull back a little bit because it is a bit overbought in the RSI. So we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on. So we shall see. All right. Somebody requested IREN. Let's see how IREN is doing. IREN currently on a downtrend. Right now. IREN currently on a downtrend, needs to break above the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to MIA, up 1%. IREN needs to break the downtrend and the VWAPA. There we go. All right. Somebody requested OSS. Very low float. You can tell just by looking at these wicks. Chopped up and now is kind of forming a bit of a pennant, little bit, sort of, right over here. Needs to break this pennant. Needs volume to break the pennant too. OSS, you can tell just by looking at it, low volume. OSS needs volume to break the pennant right there. But very, very choppy, very, very gappy, not looking too schmexy. All right, let's see what else we got over there. What else we got? Somebody requested CGC. Let's see, CGC, very barcoded. Barcoded, low volume. CGC, barcoded with low volume. Not looking schmexy. All right. Let's take a look. Somebody requested AMD. All right. AMD, let's take a look over here. AMD currently needs to break the pennant over here. It is currently above the VWAP, which is good, but it needs to break that pennant. AMD also looks like it might be low float. It does have a top tail. I don't like the top tails. I like the bottom tails. This stock is also extremely expensive. It is $201 per share, which is extremely expensive. I bet the float is going to be extremely high. Yes, it is. 1.6 billion with a B. Not looking schmexy there. Volume is 76,000. So this is extremely heavy float, extremely expensive. And yeah, not schmexy. Not schmexy. All right. So AMD heavy float, low volume, curling above the pennant, but very expensive and on low volume. So it's moving up a little bit, but yeah, it's still very expensive. And yeah, not looking schmexy there. BCS for EDBL. EDBL. All right, let's take a look. EDBL currently has a price spike up here and then shot up all the way to 90 cents and then kind of just started pulling back a little bit. This stock definitely has a bit of a low float. I can tell by the indecisive wicks over here. Let's take a look. The float is 5.1 million, which is a reasonable float. Volume is 636,000. So as of now, low float stock. Let's see about news. EDBL has award-winning Kick Sports Nutrition now available at Walmart.com. So they're being sold on Walmart.com, which is good. That's very good. All right. They even appointed an EVP named Matthew McConnell for strategic partnerships. And yeah, they also basically appointed him as executive vice president of strategic partnerships. So yeah, they got some news going on. They are already available on Walmart. That's good news. But again, very, very low volume. So as of now, EDBL needs volume to really, really curl. Has good news, but needs some volume. EDBL needs volume to remain above the VWAP as of now. Has to try to remain above that VWAP, which is pulling back below the VWAP a little bit. But let's see. Can it curl? Can it curl? We shall see. We shall see. EDBL. All right. All right, all right, all right. Let's see. SOGP. How's SOGP looking? SOGP. SOGP up 54%. 54% right there. Low volume, heavy float. I could tell by looking at it. Float is 2 million. Actually, call it 2.9 million. Volume is 134,000 as of now. It is moving up. Has a price spike, but it is a price spike on low volume. So, SOGP. Price spike on low volume. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. So, SOGP, low volume. Yes. So, needs to get more volume to keep that, to stay above the VWAP and also to kind of remain friends with the uptrend right over here. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now 8:16, or actually, excuse me, 9:16. We are just a few minutes away from the bell. The bell! It deafens me. All right. So we got that going on right there. SOGP price spike needs to remain friends with the trend. Low volume. SOGP price spike on low volume needs to remain friends with the trend for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. IMSR. Let's see how IMSR is doing. IMSR low volume, very choppy. Just above the VWAP right there. Let's see. All right. IMSR needs volume to stay above the VWAP. That's what they got going on. All right. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. Hold on 1 second. All right. Hold on. Stand by. All right. Let's see here. All right. All right. So, as of now, currently, let's take a look at BDSX. BDSX. How's BDSX doing? It's still curling above the pennant, just below the VWAP. Just below the VWAP. Not looking too schmexy. Right there. All right. Yep. Hold on. All right. There we go. So, as of now, BDSX currently, yeah, just needs volume to really curl and break that VWAP right there. BDSX. All right, BDSX needs volume to curl and break the VWAP. There we go. That's what we got going on right there. Okay. There we go. All right. There we are. All right. Yes. All right. There we are. All right. Give me just a second, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. All right. So, currently, as of now, BDSX. Let's take a look at some other stonks here. All right. Let's see here. RIVN. Somebody requested this stock. This stock is very low in volume. Even looks like it's forming a bit of a head and shoulders here if you look closely. The shoulder, bop, head, bop, and now another shoulder right over Mya. So it is below the VWAP right now. Looks like it has a bearish pattern right there. RIVN down 2% already. RIVN fell below VWAP and forming a head and shoulders bear pattern. Not looking schmexy there. RR. Let's see. Needs to break this resistance right here. Has a bit of a pennant right here. Needs to break above this pennant. and needs to stay above the VWAP right now. It looks like it's moving downward. Looks like it's moving downward over here, down 0.26%. That was also requested. RR, bearish, needs to break the pennant and stay above the VWAP. Looks like it's moving down though. That's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. Let's take a look at another stonk. LAES. Somebody requested LAES. Let's see. Choppy. At one point was kind of barcoded. Then became very choppy around here. Now it's moving downward, falling below the VWAP. Needs volume to stay above that VWAP. LAES falling below VWAP, needs volume for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. LAES not looking schmexy at all, has unconfirmed H1 earnings due in 11 days. Let's take a look at RDW. Somebody requested RDW. All right, RDW on a bit of an uptrend at first and then hit this resistance line right over here at 1168, and all of a sudden back down. So we'll see what happens there. We shall see what happens there. All right, boom and boom right there. Needs to break that area right over there. RDW needs to break above the descending wedge. All right, there we go. Needs to break above that descending wedge for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. And it looks like it's falling below it. All right. Moving downward, though. RDW is currently moving downward. So, not looking good. Not looking good with that stonk right there. Someone else requested CLSK. Let's take a look at CLSK. CLSK, very choppy, low float. I could tell just by looking at the float is extremely heavy. 248 million. Yep, volume is not even there. That's how I know it's low. All right. CLSK. Heavy with no real volume. CLSK. All right, Alex asks OCG. Let's take a look at OCG. OCG had a bit of a price spike, pulled back, and then pulled underneath the VWAP, and then shot its way back up. Currently 2 cents and climbing up 20%. OCG, that's what we get going on right there. Currently moved above the RSI, moved and became a bit overbought in the RSI. So we'll see what goes on there. Let's take a look at the float and volume. Let's take a look at the float. Float is 15.75 million. Call it 15.8, right? Volume, however, is good at 110 million and change. I call it 110.1 million and change. So as of now, the volume is higher than the float. So that's good. That's very good. News, does it have any news? Let's see if it has news. Because it is moving up 19%, which is pretty good. All right, but let's see if it has news. Oriental Culture Holding Limited, general corporate statement by foreign issuer Form 6. Announced a special cash dividend of 5 cents per share. So we got that going on right there. So, I mean, it has some news there. Has some news. All right, but it is moving its way on up. And, yeah. All right, so as of now, it needs to remain above the VWAP. Looks like it's pulling back, though, so we'll see what happens here. OCG does need volume, needs some volume, but it is moving. OCG trying to stay up. Needs volume to keep the momentum right there. It needs volume to keep that momentum because it is pulling back a little bit. It was a bit overbought in the RSI, so you got that going on right there as well. So it is pulling back a little bit because it was overbought, but it does have the float, which is fine. The volume is perfect. All right. It has some news, which is okay. It's okay news, and it looks like it's pulling its way on up a little bit. But it's got some complications going on here and there. So we'll see what happens. OCG. That's what they got going on right there. All right. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? Somebody requested APLD. APLD. Let's see how APLD is doing. Down 3%. Not looking schmexy as of now. Up, all right, $36 and change. Very heavy price. Very heavy price for the stock. It's expensive for a stock. Float is 257 million, which is very, very heavy. Volume is 1 million and change. Not looking too good. APLD, extremely low volume. APLD, extremely low volume. All right. Can it curl? We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see what happens. Extremely low volume. We'll see what happens right there with APLD. APLD. Man. Let's see. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? What else do we have here? Hold on 1 second. All right. Let's see. Hold on. All right. Let's see here. All right. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. 1 second. There we go. There we go. Okay. So, let's see what else we got. What else we got? Let me at him. The bell! The bell! It deafens me. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check out our 4-day trial for the real-time alerts and scanners for only $9.99. Link to join is in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different. And the early bird gets the cash, the moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Ooh. Let's see what we got going on so far. What else we got? APLD moving down, not looking schmexy. Not looking schmexy at all. Let's take a look at EVTV. EVTV moving up 166%. Climbed up higher than that, actually. But as of now, yesh. 166%. Cooling off a little bit, but it did have a nice move.
It needs gasolina.
Gasolina. All right. EVTV called this one earlier in the morning. Called this one early. EVTV 166% up. Had a nice shot upward right there. Yeesh. All right, let's take a look at INBS. INBS. All right, let's pull this over here. Still within the pennant. Needs to break that pennant. INBS still needs to break that pennant. INBS still needs to break above the pennant. There we go. There we go. All right. BDSX. curled up above the pennant. Curled above the pennant right there. Yeah. Curled above that pennant. All right, so BDSX curled above the pennant and is currently trying to test the VWAP. We'll see what happens here. BDSX curled above the pennant and is testing the VWAP. BDSX. All right. We'll see what goes on. All right. There we go. So, as of now, BDSX currently moving on up over there. So, BDSX, that's what it's doing right there. SOGP. Ooh, still needs to really make that move up there. So, SOGP still trying to fight its way above the VWAP right now. We'll see what happens there. We shall see what happens. All right, with SOGP. SOGP fighting to stay above VWAP right now. You can tell it's fighting to stay above that VWAP right now. There we go. All right. Consistency asks for GVH. Let's see how GVH is doing. GVH, a little gappy and very low volume as of now. Very gappy and low volume. Not looking too schmexy as of now. So GVH needs volume to break the choppiness. Oh, Alex Martinez wrote, I'm stuck in OSRH at 72 cents. Tried to catch it on a bounce off 200 EMA. You think it has died for the day? I want to sell, but I'm hesitant. Down only 5% on trade so far. So I can't really give you advice per se, but I can give OSRH a look. OSRH. All right, so as of now, OSRH is still below the VWAP. It is at 69 cents currently. You got stuck in it at 72 cents. Normally, for me personally, I normally try to keep a stop loss with stuff like this. Normally. So, as of now, I mean, OSRH does have a 12.5 million float. Volume is 27.4 million. So, the volume is there, but it's one of those stocks where it's like, okay, yeah, it's 2 times that of the float. That's great. But as of now, currently, it needs to break above the resistance. Well, first things first, above the VWAP right over here. It fell below the VWAP. So you got it around 72, which would be right over right here. So as of now, currently, you got it at 72. It pulled back to 68 as of now. So, I mean, right now it is below the VWAP. It is below the VWAP. Me personally, I'm more so weary of the VWAP because if it's not above the VWAP, I'm normally not looking at it. You know what I mean? It's not one of those stocks like if in my opinion, it fits above the VWAP. I'll look at it, but if it's not, not something I personally go after. Me personally, I don't like that stuff. But that's me. All right. I mean, everybody could do their own due diligence. My trading is my trading. Your trading is your trading. But me personally, I don't normally look at that stuff right there. So if it's below the VWAP, I'm not a big fan normally. Not a big fan. But OSRH currently is at 69%, 69 cents. 69 cents and is trying to pull its way on up a little bit right there. So we shall see what happens right here. We shall see. OSRH does need more volume. It does need more volume for it to be so much mexy to me. OSRH needs more volume for it to be so much Mexi Tumya. There we go. Needs to break that pennant. Needs to break above the VWAP. There we go. There we go. All right. EVTV. How's EVTV doing? EVTV, pulled back a little bit. Was a bit overbought on the RSI. So it tracks. We'll see what happens. We shall see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see. We shall see. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1900. 1900. Come on. Actually, excuse me. 2000. Let's get to 2000, ladies and gentlemen. Consistency asks for MEME. MEME. Let's take a look at MEME. MEME. Low float. Excuse me. Low volume. As of now, very choppy. Very choppy with some low volume. So as of now, MEME was a bit overbought in the RSI. Curled its way back up a little bit. Excuse me, it was a bit oversold in the RSI. Curled its way back up a little bit. And now currently it really needs to just pull itself up. It needs volume. Needs a lot of volume. So MEME, very, very choppy as of now. MEME, choppy. Needs volume to break. Well, to stay above the VWAP, actually. To stay above the VWAP. There we go. There we go. So, as of now, MEME doing its thing. Needs volume to stay up above that VWAP right there. All right. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. BDSX. BDSX currently curling, broke above the VWAPA. BDSX broke above the VWAPA. There we go. Broke the VWAPA, is currently up. Curled off that pennant and broke the VWAP right there. BDSX curled above the pennant and broke the VWAPA. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. All right. All right. ACAN shot up like a rocket just now. ACAN shot up like a rocket. There we go. Up 38%. Unconfirmed H1 earnings due in 11 days on Friday, January 23rd during market hours. Has a bit of resistance right over here at the 338 mark, but is currently on the way up. So ACAN needs to remain friends with the trend. Had a nice price spike. RBOT currently, let's see over here, RBOT. All right. RBOT needs to break that pennant right there. RBOT needs to break the pennant for it to be so much Mexi Tumya. Needs to break the pennant and stay above VWAPA for it to really be so much Mexi Tumya. RBOT right there. All right, and that's pretty much it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos are uploaded. And remember to share, because sharing is caring, ladies and gentlemen. Sharing is caring. And of course, if you want access to our private Discord, link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comments section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different. And the early bird gets the cash, the moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, also, Be sure to check out our 4-day trial for our real-time alerts and scanners for only $9.99. Link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comments section, so be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different, and the early bird gets the cash, the moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we got going on. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, we called some wonderful stonks, ladies and gentlemen. We called today alone, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell icon. We called PASW 69%, INBS 111%, BDSX 43%, EVTV 166% so far, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. So much love. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. It's Double Nicks. I love you guys. Be sure to check out our YouTube at Coaching Money, at Coach Nick Money, at Coach Nick Money. You can find us on x.com, aka Twitter, at Coaching Money, at Coach Nick Money. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Coaching Money, at Coach Nick Money. And you can find us on Twitch, where we do lots of live streaming, at Coaching Money. You can find us on Twitch, or excuse me, TikTok, Tiki-Taki, aka the Tac. You can find us there at DBL Nicks, at DBL NICKS, and the screen name is Coach Nick Money, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, much love. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys later today at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Power Plays. Power Plays is basically a show hosted by the legend himself, Coach Nick Money, as he traverses the stock market, right? He traverses the stock market right there. And basically, he takes a look at the stonks prior to Power Hour, the Power Hour, right? And basically what he does there is he takes a look at them stonks and gives his honest analysis of said stonks right there. And then after that, there's the play portion of the show where he lets the stonks simmer on high heat and plays some Fortnite, gets some dubs for the community, and then he goes back to it again, keeps an eye on them stonks, plays the game, and then goes back to the stonks. Wonderful thing. It's a very fun show. I normally co-host it, yes, so there you go. You'll see me there as well, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, be sure to be on the lookout for that Power Play show. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Be sure to follow us on x.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitch. Make sure to do all that stuff to be apprised when the new live streams are coming. Also, be sure to check out our new, videos and shorts like that as well, which we keep on the YouTube, the YobiTubes, and that's pretty much it for me. It's Double Nicks. I love you guys. I'm here with the lovely Serengeti specialist herself. She likes to hang around the tall weeds, the high trees, the low seas, hitting them high knees. Sometimes she likes 2 cups of coffee. Other times she likes to jet ski. Other times she likes to regular ski. Other times she gets shot out the cannon and she goes, wee! Other times she likes to go to RBs and watch videos of puppies and kitties. Other times she likes to go to either Mickey D's. Sometimes she'll go to Burger King, and sometimes she will also go into Wendy's, right? But yeah, that's pretty much what she does right there. All right, she is the Serengeti stonk specialist herself. We call her DBL Moms, and that's pretty much it. Much love. Take care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day. We'll see you guys later for Power Plays.